So anyway, I bought the ticket. Mexico for $16 a night. This is a huge saving, right? But then I discovered that I couldn't possibly fly from my home on Vancouver Island to arrive in Los Angeles in time. Everything was sold out. There was no conceivable combination of flights permitting me to reach Long Beach in time to board the ship. The editor says I usually botch everything. He might have a valid point there, but stick with me, and I'll reveal how you too can travel in style on a shoestring budget, and see all the places you've only dreamed of. I am retired on a meager pension, yet somehow have managed to sail around the world for the past 15 years, visiting at least 70 countries. Following the 2008 financial crisis, I began to discover that cruising might be far the best way to travel the world on a budget. At the time, the cruise companies were offering some pretty big discounts. It seemed surreal to me that I could take a 14-night cruise in Asia for the ridiculously low sum of $6 a night. Holy smokes, I said to myself, I should do that. But instead of booking it there and then, I spent too many hours researching whether or not I needed a visa. By the time I was ready to pull the trigger, poof, it was gone. If I should spot something even half as good, I had learned my lesson and would push the purchase button right away. It was only a week or so before I spotted an ad for some incredibly cheap 3- and 4-day cruises from Los Angeles to Ensenada, 200 miles away in Mexico, on the coast of Baja California. Well, I'll be darned, I thought, $16 a night. I'm not going to procrastinate this time. I'm going to push the buy button right now and ask questions later. Then I discovered that I couldn't possibly fly to arrive in Los Angeles in time. The editor thought I had bungled it as usual, but hey, not to worry. I didn't consider it an outrageous concept to do some long-distance driving. Oh well, what the hell, I decided. It's only 1,300 miles each way. I'll just barrel down Interstate 5 and then enjoy a leisurely drive along the Oregon coast on my way back. But I now realized that I still couldn't make it to Long Beach in time, even if I boarded the first ferry in the morning. I had to leave right away that night. This gave me about half an hour to pack a suitcase, be on my way, and board the last ferry leaving at 9 p.m. You never saw anyone pack so fast in your life. I was all packed in a jiffy, and away I went. I did catch the last ferry to the mainland, and drove as far as I could that night to the middle of Washington State. After breakfast next morning, I drove all day through the rest of Washington and the 9th largest state of Oregon, before stopping for the night in Northern California. Thus I made it the following day, and saw my cruise ship gleaming in the Long Beach harbor. I had about 6 minutes to spare as usual, but clambered aboard the Carnival Inspiration, feeling quite satisfied with myself. Wow, this is the life, I thought, on entering my cabin. It didn't have a window or even a porthole, but it was extremely well appointed and positively luxurious compared with my sketchy motel lodgings en route. I doubted there was a seasoned travel agent in the world who could have arranged it any better. But it would be another 6 years and many cruises later before the editor validated my nautical know-how and discovered the wonderful world of cruising for himself. "It's quite amazing, Flange," he said. "You were right about something for once." Since then, I've made a habit of looking for cheap cruises and staying on top of airfares. That way, I am on top of things and ready to leave at the drop of a hat whenever I see a cruise being offered at prices too good to be true. My hat, incidentally, has a muddy tire track on it, which I will explain later. While I can leave at the last minute, I guess most people still have a boss and can't get time off without a fair amount of notice. Flitting about on cruise ships, if you are a pensioner like me, presents a golden opportunity to travel around the world rather than spend my golden years sitting around the house. The editor admits I might be onto something almost too good to be true, and prodded me to collaborate with him on this book. Arriving in Ensenada, I could hear a lot of ruckus from the town. It was about 9 or 10 in the morning. I hadn't even left the ship, but I could already hear amplified voices over bullhorns and a lot of loud music. It sounded as if they were getting ready for a rock concert. It's a bit early in the day for this, I thought, but I disembarked and discovered they were preparing for the Baja 1000. The annual race, dubbed one of the most dangerous in the world, would see all sorts of off-road vehicles and motorcycles begin screeching over dusty tracks and sand dunes, all the way down to La Paz, near the end of the Baja Peninsula. Accompanied by mariachi bands, the participants were having a big colorful parade through town, with lots of young women in bikinis, hanging off all kinds of muscle cars with big tires and lots of chrome. I whipped out my camera and chatted with several of the drivers.
Take your starting positions in 2!
Many of them were sponsored by big car companies, and I could scarcely believe members of the Toyota team when they told me they had spent $200,000 on tires and shock absorbers on one vehicle alone. Some of the participants in cheap dune buggies had invested virtually nothing and had just as good a chance of winning as the big-name entries from around the world. "Could you imagine yourself winning the race?" asked the editor. "I like motorcycles," I said, but for some strange reason, I had a nasty habit of crashing them. I don't know why these people risk speeding 1,000 miles over dusty dirt roads all the way to La Paz, when they already have trophy girlfriends cheering them on from the start. I did not consider Ensenada a premium destination for gringos. But it gradually improved, as truckloads of soldiers carrying machine guns began patrolling the streets in ever-increasing numbers. I was amazed upon my third visit how it had become a much more welcoming cruise destination. The editor first called there on his honeymoon in 1968. Still a typical Englishman, he went riding on the beach in his suit and tie, only to discover his steed kept galloping in ever-decreasing concentric circles. It finally deposited him in the surf. The editor's new wife found the whole thing quite amusing, but they decided, since he was already wet, to go for a swim instead. The 3-day trips between Los Angeles and Ensenada are still popular 15 years later. The Inspiration carried up to 2,040 passengers and was a perfectly good ship as far as I was concerned. COVID. The pandemic reared its ugly head at the end of 2019 and shut down the cruise industry all over the world. The biggest player, Carnival Corporation, took the opportunity to get rid of 21 of their older, less efficient ships. It cut me to the quick to learn that they were scrapping the Carnival Inspiration. It had fond memories for me, and I almost shed a tear because it was the first cruise ship I had ever sailed on. But beach holidays are not for me, and I didn't even get my feet wet on the fabulous shores of Catalina Island. I began to look for longer voyages instead.
Buenos días, señor.
Belle, stop it! Belle, stop it!